Giles becomes a demon.
Need to destroy.
Good times. Go with it.
And all new Buffy. She learned to hunt from Giles. Now, Giles becomes the hunted.
Xander, it's me, Giles. Hello, Oh, stop the car.
This is for Giles.
And all new Buffy.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We are back, and welcome to this week's edition of Slade, the Buffyverse Revisited. I'm one of your hosts. I'm Apollo Creed.
Wow. I'm James. I was gonna make another Rocky reference, but I, for the life of me, cannot remember what Mickey's last name was. Burgess Meredith's character.
Yeah, Mickey Rourke? No.
I do not believe that is correct.
Oh, no.
But yes, welcome back, everyone, to the second half of our season. We're in the back half of both Buffy and Angel now, so 11 more episodes of each?
11
more episodes of each, 22 more episodes in our full season, so we are refreshed and yet somehow still exhausted.
Yep. It never fails. I probably look like death warmed over, but I've just been very busy the last couple of days.
You look just as sexy as ever.
Ooh, yeah.
Talk
to me.
You haven't commented on my fresh cut here, Jeremy.
Well, I wanted to wait until the episode. I noticed the fresh cut and the le beard trim.
Yes, the beard is finally trimmed, and yeah.
See, I do that, God, probably once a week or so with the beard thing, because I cannot stand it to get too thick, too like put it this way, if I can wake up in the morning from sleeping and like my beard is all crazy, I'm like, yep, it's trim time. That's how I know it's trim time. But
I typically during the winter, as we've discussed before, I let the hair and the beard go like just wild, just buck wild, which we've seen. But yeah, I felt the need to keep it tight this time around. Yeah. Got ourselves a little trim up here. So, but when
yeah, I got a little trim up top too here. If you can,
I see. Before we started recording, you and I were talking about my ongoing eye issues, and I told several people this last go around with my eye problems that if I lose the eye, I'm just gonna let the beard and the hair go, and I'm gonna get a gold eye patch, like not one with a band, just one that's just like permanently there, and I'm gonna just lean hard into the Odin thing.
And it's just gonna be the kind that's just bolted into
it'll just bolt it right into my skull, right into my eye socket, and I'm just gonna lean hard into the Odin aesthetic.
Well, I was gonna say, if that were to happen, which let's all hope that does not happen.
Let's hope.
But if it were to happen, you should get a glass eye with a fish in it.
So the last time this happened, back in months and months and months ago, and I had this issue, I mentioned that if I were to have to get a fake eye, I would want a Marty Feldman eye.
Yeah.
It's just a big dumbass bulging eye.
That's that song Betty Davis Eyes.
Yes.
Yeah, I always sing it as she's got Marty Feldman eyes.
I do that too. I do that too. Whenever I hear that song, I always substitute in Marty Feldman eyes.
Yep.
That's
It's
so
probably
fun.
it's probably pretty common, but I thought I was clever for having thought of it.
Right. Well, you're not. Anyway.
Okay. So how are you, James? How's it been? Other than the eye problem, how have you been the last couple of weeks?
Other than the eye issues, the ongoing eye issues, I've been all right. Not a whole lot going on. My 43rd is tomorrow, but technically today for everyone that's listening or watching.
You know what? I thought it was next week for some reason.
Nope, the 19th. So that'll be
not a very good friend.
it's fine. So tomorrow, as of the time we're recording, and today, as of the time that people might be listening to this. So
443.
443 years old.
Young.
Yes. I was, of course, born on the shores of Loch Shiel in Glenfinnan, Scotland.
Right, the village of Glenfinnan.
Right. Yes, I am immortal and I cannot die.
Right. Unless
now
you quickly chop off my fucking head.
Right. Now's the part where I would dramatically plunge a dagger into my heart to demonstrate
and just totally
that I can't die
for life. Yeah, he couldn't just like cut his hand and be like, "See, watch it heal," or something. Right. He's like, "Here, now take this knife and plunge it into my fucking aorta," and yeah.
Right. And then when I don't die, we will fuck vigorously.
Vigorously. Funny we're talking about that because I just watched an episode today of I watched which one was it? Brothers in Arms.
I have actually started a Highlander rewatch with someone. We've only made it through the first episode so far, but
we've only made it through the first episode.
Well, we literally just started, so.
Well, here in a couple of years, you're probably going to have to do that again.
I will do it all over again, but that's okay.
Damn right.
But yeah, I mean, I love that first episode. We've talked about this before. I definitely have issues with the first season of that show. It's rough for me, but
I don't love the first part of the first season that's in Seacouver. But man, once they get to Paris, I think the episodes are well, really starting with Band of Brothers, the bridging episode between Seacouver and Paris. I think the episodes get really good. So, yeah. But anyway,
the Paris episodes in every season, in my opinion, that's in every season. Once they go to Paris, the episodes seem to get better.
Yeah, but you do always have at least one Beast Below episode each season.
Oh, sure.
I was just like, oh God, what were they? What?
But in my opinion, the first half of the season, starting in season 2, pick up dramatically from season 1. It's a rough watch for me. But anyway, that is all stuff we will discuss in approximately 7 years when we get to Highlander.
7.5 years, we will be on to Highlander Revisited.
In the meantime, let's focus on Buffy, the Buffyverse Revisited. And how about if I, Jeremy, hand out some tasty dates and deets for this week's episode?
I would be okay with that, but let me make I wanted to make a quick little announcement.
Sure.
I was going to do it at the end, but I'll just do it now. I noticed that the audio version of our podcast was not on iHeart or Amazon Music. And I have remedied that. It is now on both platforms. Again, that's iHeart and Amazon Music. So in case those are one of those two you want to use to listen to us, you may now do so. I was unaware that I thought our RSS feed would automatically feed into those two platforms, but it didn't. I had to set those up manually. So I did so, and now we are on those two platforms, and that's all of my announcement. So why don't you sizzle us up some of them delicious dates and deets?
All right. As previously, actually, not as previously discussed, because you didn't give us the name of this week's episode
Oh,
in
that's
your
right.
intro.
This is season 4, episode 12 of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, A New Man.
Yes, as previously stated, we will be revisiting Buffy the Vampire Slayer, season 4, episode 12, our 68th episode of the series overall. A New Man. Our episode credited director this week is Michael Gershman, and our credited writer is Jane Espenson. Our original air date was January 25th, 2000 on the now defunct WB network. Our Nielsen rating for this week, 3.9 million households when it first aired, ranking it 84th out of the 135 network primetime shows for the week, and 4th out of the 15 primetime shows airing on the WB for the week. Our regular cast, as always, includes Sarah Michelle Gellar as Buffy, Nicholas Brendan as Xander, Allison Hannigan as Willow, Anthony Stewart Head as Giles, James Marsters as Spike, and Mark Blucas as Riley. Our guest stars this week include the return of Robin Sachs as Ethan Rayne. We love Ethan Rayne, and we'll get into that more on my end as we discuss the episode. Amber Benson as Tara, Emma Caulfield as Anya, and Lindsay Krause as Professor Maggie Walsh. My episode synopsis this week reads: after Giles turns to old friend Ethan Rayne for camaraderie, he is transformed into a demon and hunted down by an unknowing Buffy. It's okay. It's okay. It's not great, but it's all right. It's all right. It could be worse.
Yeah. Yeah, yours is kind of a little wrong and also a little vague.
Right.
However, mine is straight up spoiler heaven. And mine reads: Ethan Rayne returns to town and transforms Giles into a demon. Spike is the only one who can help.
Okay.
Yeah, like, all right.
Well, that's been episode 12, everybody.
Right. Thanks for joining us.
So, Jeremy, please tell me. No. Okay. Yeah. That's. I mean,
It's just like
those.
Wow, there it is. How you like me now?
Yeah. Those. You pull yours from IMDb, right?
I do.
Yeah. Those IMDb ones sometimes, man, they just get right to the meat and bones.
You know how good they were for so long, and it seems like since we've started season 4, let's just say the quality seems to be dipping a bit.
Whoever's doing them is just like, yeah, fuck it.
Yeah, they're like, oh, it's fucking season 4. I don't care. Ethan returns. Shit happens. Giles, Spike, the end.
Giles, Spike, the end.
Yeah,
that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Why don't you get us into the frigid open?
The frigid open. So I'm just going to mention this real quick, and I'll bring it up again when we cover next week's episode of Angel. The length of this cold open compared to the length of the Angel cold open,
yeah,
in these week's episode is like
hilarious,
astounding. Yeah. But anyway,
hey,
yes,
I was going to ask you just really quickly. How do you think Larry, Tom, and Gerald are doing this week?
Well, I mean,
do you think any of them ever got to finish?
No, I mean, at least 2 of them are dead. 2 of them jumped right into the fucking hellmouth. If you remember, we kind of left a little bit on the fence with Larry. I think Larry died, and you think Larry lived.
I think
or was it the other way?
No, I think I thought he lived.
Okay. I think
I
he
think
died.
I think he in the chaos, in the midst of all the chaos, I think he waited for them all to leave, and he just crawled away out of the building. And
Out of the building.
now he has to go find 2 more friends that can complete the blowjob circle.
Well, so here's the thing. So, I mean, here we are talking about the last episode like 2 weeks later. And it wasn't even a very good episode, really.
No, it wasn't. We tried to make it one.
Right. But logically speaking, Larry either died when Buffy like retrieved him from the Hellmouth somehow, or they killed Larry when we weren't like privy, or he's locked up somewhere. Because if they just left him there and he was alive, what would have been to stop? What would have stopped him from just like rolling over and falling into the Hellmouth and jump starting the fucking apocalypse again?
Yeah. No, I like to think that when the cameras cut, they talked about it and they said, well, listen, we have to just kill Larry in cold blood. You hold him down, and I will stab him repeatedly. And he's screaming and crying and begging for his life the whole time, and it's really sad.
He's just like no, Gerald and Tom and I just wanted to suck each other's dicks. No, God, why are you doing this to us?
I hate you. I hate Earth.
Humans are so terrible. And he's right. As a race in general, we are.
Yeah.
Man, we're fucking awful.
Yeah, we really are. Anyway.
And on that note, we jump in and Riley and Buffy are making out on Buffy's bed in the dorm room, and
I like to think they were on Willow's bed. And when she comes in, she's like, really? What the fuck?
Right.
And Buffy's like,
And it's getting hot and heavy. Like it's clearly heading in a certain direction, if you know what I'm saying. You
mean Pound Town?
They're gonna have coitus.
Oh, okay.
And
strictly missionary and for procreation.
Well, I don't know about for procreation, but definitely strictly missionary, because Riley is like fucking white bread, vanilla, country bumpkin.
Idaho potato boy.
Yeah, like he doesn't. Yeah, no, he's not in. No. Yeah. Buffy would.
He won't even take his shirt and his socks off.
Right, Buffy would be like, I don't know, like take me from behind, and he would be like, oh no, can't. No, that's not proper. We can't do that. Strictly missionary.
I don't want to see your buttocks.
Right.
That may be a sign of homosexuality, and I don't.
And I do not abide by the homosexuals.
Right, my religion. It's against my religion.
It's against my religion, and therefore I have to force it on everybody else as well to be against it.
Nonstop.
That's how religion works.
Right. I can't say it once. I must say it every fucking chance I get.
Right. And even though it's against my religion, I have to let everyone else know that it's terrible and that I have a problem with it, even though I don't have to actively engage with it, and I could just ignore it and let people live their fucking lives.
Right.
I'm still gonna just like double down on how you're a bad person for engaging in it.
Right, and you need to make absolute certain that we all know this, and that we all know that it's against your religion. Right. Also, that we can't do it because it's against your religion.
Yes. So then Willow rushes into the room, and she's spouting off about a demon that attacked the rec room, and Riley's all vampire, and Willow's all like, vampires don't breathe fire. So they head off to the rec room armed with weapons, and they get there, and it turns out it's a surprise party for Buffy. Um,
And we
And-
discussed she is turning 19.
yes, and well, we don't discover that until after the cold open.
Oh, no. We see the poster. We see the banner hanging.
Oh, is it on the banner? I didn't notice that it was on the
Yeah,
banner.
it says Happy 19th Buffy. It says Happy 19th on there. I know.
Oh, okay. Then yes, we find out that she's celebrating her 19th birthday party. Riley comes in through like a back door all ready for battle and is also clearly surprised.
And he's like, hey,
Which-
just because I came in the back door does not mean that I abide by that.
That I don't abide by that. I do
Right.
not abide by that. I need you to know that it's wrong and you're wrong for doing it.
Right.
Because it's against my religion.
Right.
You're wrong for practicing it. Even though I don't have to do it and I can ignore it.
Right.
You're wrong for doing it.
Right.
But this does kind of beg the question, like, how come they didn't get Riley involved in the surprise? Like, he's her boyfriend, right?
Yeah, but I'll be honest. I kind of think that they know he's stupid. Like, I kind of feel like they think we can't. Riley's not the one to trust with something like this. He's pretty fucking dumb.
They were probably like, he let the cat out of the bag that he was one of the like military guys pretty quickly. Didn't cover that up very well. This isn't. He's not gonna be able to keep this a secret.
Yeah, he couldn't even keep that secret in one conversation. So let's go ahead and exclude him. He'll be outside at the street corner screaming about Armageddon anyway. So
right, and that's our cold open.
That was the cold open, and I mean it was frigid. So when we come back, we're still at the party, and Giles is he's just clearly a fish out of water. He's like, what am I? You could tell in his brain he's thinking, what the fuck am I doing here? Because he's like 45, I think, at this point. And he's like, these kids are like 19 and 20, and what am I fucking doing with my life? And at that point, Buffy comes up to introduce Riley to him as her boyfriend, and it's just a clusterfuck of just embarrassment for fucking Giles.
Because like he's like completely taken aback by the fact that Buffy is seeing someone. Like nobody told him. Like he's clearly like not in the loop of things anymore. Like I would venture to say since the library went boom.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and he's.
I mean, we've been seeing that on a weekly basis, and it was funny. It was humorous to see, but at the same time, like I felt bad for Giles because I couldn't. If I was hanging around 19, 20-year-olds, like I would feel out of place. Like, what do I have in common with someone who's literally like 20 to 25 years younger than me at this point?
Like a generation younger than you. Yeah.
Right.
What are you even going to discuss? Like, so, hey, what do you think about that oxygen?
Right. So, like, I understood, like, his awkwardness, but I also felt bad because, like, these are, I don't know, I feel like with the Scooby Gang in particular, there shouldn't be that awkwardness. Like, everything they've been through, all the time they've spent together, like, it shouldn't be that way. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and poor Giles is just totally.
I think he feels that way too, to a degree.
Like ever since they graduated high school, they've just cast him aside.
Right.
Because he even mentions to Riley, that I used to be her librarian and blah blah blah, and then Riley's all like, oh, so are you retired now? And he's like, fucking what? Like, I'm not that goddamn old, you little fuck.
That was my reaction too.
Yeah.
Like I've been watching these episodes with someone else, and like that was our reaction too. My reaction. I was like, Giles is my age. Like, what the fuck?
Right.
But granted, I will say, like, I know I don't like have an extremely youthful appearance, but I do think I look younger than Anthony Stewart Head did at 40 some odd years of age.
Yeah, he just has that very distinguished older gentleman look to him.
Yeah.
So then Buffy gets to talking about Professor Walsh to Giles and how she just gushes all about her and how she's the smartest person she's ever met, at which Giles is like, wow, fucking thanks. And then he's like, well, perhaps you should have invited her to this fucking party. At which point Buffy's all like, oh no, she's got better things to do than to hang out with a bunch of kids. And and Giles is like, fuck this, I'm gonna go kill myself. Why am I even here? Like, what the fuck?
Right. Yeah, like that was another thing. I was like, Jesus Christ, Buffy, like read the fucking room. Like, dude. Maggie fucking Walsh is the smartest person you know. Excuse me, Senor Giles is standing right there.
Who has saved the world with his knowledge on multiple occasions, while Maggie Walsh just stands around and spouts off dime store fucking psychology bullshit all day. Right. But she's so fucking smart. She read like a couple of fucking Nietzsche books, and all of a sudden she's the smartest fucking person I've ever met. Anyway, we cut to Xander's pimp basement, and
is that what we're going with now? It's a pimp basement.
Well, he wishes it was a pimp basement. It's really just a basement. And Spike is packing up to leave. Now that he has discovered he can like fight demons and shit, and he can hurt demons and all that, so he's kind of got a new lease on life now. So yeah, he's packing up, and of course Xander's being Xander, a massive fucking dick to him. And at one point, because or was she there? Was she there?
Who?
Xander's woman, Anya. Was Anya? Anyway. Because she tries to give him a lamp, one of Xander's lamps.
Yeah. And after Xander had already stopped Spike from trying to take something of his.
Yeah, I think it was his radio, and he's like, "That's my radio." Yeah. He's like, "Yeah, I'm evil. Like, what do you expect to do?" So anyway, Spike's moving into a crypt, and of course, and he's like, I don't need a lamp. There's not going to be electricity. And she's like, well, how aren't you going to need a refrigerator? How are you going to keep your blood fresh? And he's like, wow, you know what? Come to think of it, yeah, I could use a few bucks, Xander. And poor Xander just shits on him. And anyway, we cut to Riley introducing Buffy to basically he's introducing her to Professor Walsh as the Slayer. They're having a little powwow, and Walsh is all like, "Oh, we thought the Slayer was just a myth," and yada yada. And at which point, I think like Buffy should have like karate chopped the desk in half to be like, "Yep, not a myth." But
no, but instead, I laughed. Okay, I'm gonna say this before we get to our final thoughts and reviews. This is one of the episodes that no matter how many times I watch, it is always laugh out loud funny to me.
Really?
Yes. And this scene has one of those moments where after Maggie Walsh is like, "We thought you were a myth," Buffy goes, "Well, you were mistaken."
Yeah, mistaken. And I was like, oh.
I crack up at it every time.
See, I get to the laugh out loud part of this episode like midway through and to the end.
Right.
Then I'm laughing constantly. So anyway, Walsh is kind of bragging on Riley that she's like, how many hostiles have you killed, Riley? And he's like 17. And they're like, how about you? And Buffy's like, uh-oh. And we cut away from that conversation, and Giles is dusting. He's like dusting his bookshelf with a little feather duster. I told you he's got one because it goes with his French maid outfit.
Yes, it goes with his French maid outfit.
So and then he's like he looks at this book, pulls it out, and looks at it, and he's like, Barbarian about to rise. He's like, oh shit, like shit's about to hit the fan. And he calls Buffy, but Willow, informs him that she's with Professor Walsh. And then we cut back to Buffy and Riley now walking along in through campus there, discussing what was just talked about, and he's fucking floored by how much shit she's done, how much slayage she's done, many times she's saved the world and stopped the apocalypse. And
as he fucking should be.
Yeah, he's very emasculated, and I love it. Then we cut to a little scene where Giles shows up in Professor Walsh's office, and they're kind of talking about Buffy, and she's being a real, what is the word? Cunt. And
yeah.
And for no real reason other than that she's Professor Walsh and that's who she is.
Yeah. Like she's all like she's simultaneously like complimentary but also insulting of Buffy as like a person. And she basically doesn't even basically, she tells Giles it's because she has the lack of a father figure in her life.
Yeah.
And I was like, excuse me, you better know your place and understand who the fuck you are talking to right now, Maggie Walsh.
Yeah. Yeah, because here she's she spouts off a couple more dime store fucking more philosophical bullshit than psychological, but she spouts a couple of little things, and he's just kind of like, oh god, well, I guess I gotta kill this bitch, and he starts rolling up his sleeves, and so then we cut to Willow and Xander and Giles. It's later that night, because he's unable to find Buffy, so they're heading to the cemetery themselves to handle this demon uprising situation that Giles discovered in this book. And they get there, they get inside this mausoleum, and it's fucking nothing's going on. I mean, it's silent, quiet, dead, just nothing happening. And this is kind of where Willow spills the beans about the initiative and that Riley is in fact part of this initiative, and fucking this is the most like just exacerbated I've ever seen. He's like, fucking what? He's like, fucking what? I have spent the last several weeks trying to track these commando fuckers down and figure out what their deal is. And not only do you guys know, but fucking Buffy's dating one, and no one thought to fucking just mention to old Giles, hey, you might not need to, we probably got this figured out.
Yeah. He is so. What's that?
I'm totally with him on this.
Oh yeah. This just goes back to what we were saying. Like, this all ties in obviously to like the cold open and then that whole birthday party scene. Like, it all ties into like how, like, since Sunnydale High exploded, like they've all kind of like turn their backs to some degree on Giles.
Yeah, they're just kind of they just were like, oh, we graduated high school, see you never. They just
like they literally have only been going to him since then when there's a problem.
Yeah.
But like they've been excluding him from their actual lives, which on one hand, like I kind of get, like they're young adults now, they're in college. He's, twice their age and was their teacher. But at the same time, again, like when you factor in everything they've been through over the last 3 years together, and how he's damn near a father to Buffy, like that's it's unacceptable. Like it's fucking wrong.
Yeah, and I'm just now remembering something. So to play devil's advocate, you remember at the beginning of the season, he was very dismissive of Buffy and of his responsibility to the whole thing. He was all like, he was busy banging the chick from London, and he was, sipping on his fucking, rum on the rocks, and he's like, you don't need, you've left the council, and I'm getting my dick wet, so I don't have time to fuck with you.
Right.
I mean,
but also that he was, but that also lasted like less than a full episode.
True, but I guess she took it to heart. She's like, all right, fuck you, old man. And but
I'm taking my friends with me.
Yeah. So then so in that scene, he's like, well, you guys can go ahead and just go. I guess nothing's gonna happen. And Willow's like, no, we can stay. And he's like, no, go ahead and go. And they just turn and they fuck off as fast as they can. Like, okay, bye. And Giles just sits down like on a stoop, and he's just like, what am I doing with my life? Like, what is even happening? So he just kind of gathers up his shit, and I guess we never really get an explanation, but I guess he's the thing he read in the book was maybe he mistranslated it or something, because nothing's going on.
Right.
So he just kind of gathers up his shit and walks out the door and closes the door behind him, and he says something like, "Oh, nothing happening here." And then as he closes the door and leaves, Ethan Rayne steps out of the shadows and says, "Oh, I wouldn't say that, old boy. I think something major is going to happen soon." And and the door opens back up, and Giles is like, "Who's there?" And he's like, "Oh, bollocks! I thought you had left." And that was my first big laugh out loud.
Yeah, and I laughed out loud then too. It's fucking hysterical. He's just evil monologuing in the middle of the mausoleum, and Giles comes in. He's like, "What is somebody there?" Oh, bollocks!
Bollocks! I thought you had left.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So of course, Giles is quite happy because he's like, throttling you is gonna really make my day better. So he's getting ready to put the beats on old Ethan, and Ethan's like, I've got information, blah, 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 blah. So next thing we know, they're in a bar or a pub and having a pint. And Ethan's telling Giles that the underworld's being threatened by the initiative, and especially by something called, quote, 314, which Giles was like, what the fuck is a 314? He's like, what, so 8? Do we just add the number? So 8. And Ethan says, well, whatever this initiative's doing, they're throwing everything out of balance, and the underworld is, scared and in an uproar and yada yada. And then we cut to Buffy and Riley. And I'm not really sure where the fuck they are, to be honest. Some type of gymnasium looking place.
Yeah, I presumed they were down in the initiative, probably in like.
No, remember, she's not allowed to go down there.
Oh, that's right.
Because Walsh told her earlier that she's working on getting her clearance to come down there.
That's right.
So I was like, because at first that's what I thought too, and then I was like, no, they can't go down there. I was like, where the fuck? Some little workout room on the campus, I'm going to assume.
Yeah.
But
that would make sense.
Conveniently, they're the only two in this workout room on an entire college campus. But they're doing a little sparring action. And you can tell like neither one of them are really. I'm like, this looks cheesy. Like neither one of them are really trying. And then finally, he's like, "Are you holding back?" And she's like, "Maybe a little." She's like, "You are too." And so he's like, "All right, I won't hold back, and you don't hold back, and let's see what happens." He's like, "I'm gonna punch you in the face." Like that's what he's basically saying. Because they're not wearing protective gear. They're just fucking fight. So he basically just says, "Okay, let's fight for real now." And she should be like, "Wait, what? You're gonna no what? What? That's not a thing. That's not a thing." Like that's what they do. And at one
It'd
point,
be like if you're play wrestling with your girlfriend and then all of a sudden you just scoop her up and drop her through the coffee table.
yeah. Or she's
like,
all like,
you're like, all right, let's cage match for real now.
yeah. And then you fucking blade yourself so you can get some fucking blood. And and it's just like, what the no, that's not a thing. You don't just say like if they were all like geared up and shit and maybe then, but you don't you don't just be like, okay, let's fight for real now. Like because she should be like, wait, no, like you're not gonna punch me and I'm not gonna punch you. What the fuck is wrong with you, weirdo? Maybe we should rethink this fucking relationship. So anyway, they do though.
Imagine like you play wrestling with your girlfriend on the couch one night, Jeremy, and you just turn to her and you're like, all right, now let's reenact the Montreal screw job.
Yeah. And you put her in the sharpshooter and she's fucking just screaming bloody murder and yeah. It's like, no, this isn't a thing that we do.
That's not how it works. What?
Yeah. But they do. And Buffy kicks him in the chest at one point and literally sends him like 30 feet through the air, like into a wall, and then he hits the ground, and then like a big mat falls over on top of him, and so she goes rushing over, and she's like, "Are you all right?" And he's like, "No, I have obviously a cracked sternum and internal fucking bleeding." You could, of course, he's all like, "Yeah, I'm okay." No one could be kicked like that to the point of lifting them up and shooting them across the room 30 feet. A fucking horse could kick you in the fucking chest and it's game over. Like it's going to break every bone in your chest. But anyway. So yeah, he's apparently okay, even though he's been hit with the force of basically like a Mack truck doing like 50 miles an hour.
Well, to be fair, we do find out later in the episode that Buffy was still holding back.
Yeah, but anything that's going to take a 225-pound man off his feet and send him 30 feet through the air, that's a lot of fucking force.
Oh, yeah.
And you're you might survive it, but you're probably going to be in the ICU for a while. And
right.
Yeah, but he's fine because he's Riley, a complete normal human. We cut back to the bar, and at this point, Giles and Ethan are now shit-faced drunk. And Giles is opening up about how left out he feels, the whole deal, and being annoyed with the initiative, and how they've got the demons running scared, and he's been fighting them for 20 years, and they've never even paid attention to him. And Ethan's flirting with a waitress and giving her his number, and she's like, all right, yeah, buddy. And then we cut to Willow and Tara in Tara's dorm room having insane lesbian sex. Like full on. No, we know that's where it's heading though, because like they're going to do this magical exercise kind of thing where they hold hands and they have to make their minds connect, and then they lift this rose off the ground, and then once it's hovering, they can pluck each petal off one at a time. Well, they get to the point with with it floating. And then all of a sudden it just starts shooting through the fucking air and hits the ground, and it's just like smoking, and there's no petals left on it. And Willow's like, huh, I'll be damned.
Think we might have fucked that up.
Yeah. And Tara's like, she's like, what do you think that was? And Tara's like, I don't know, but all the petals are off of it. And
I vividly remember watching the show during the first run, and that line, that moment was when I was like, okay, I like Tara.
Yeah. Well, I liked her on her next line, which is when she looked at Willow and said, "Wanna fuck?" And Willow's like, "Why not?"
Yeah, sure.
I tried dick. Let's try a little bit of fucking axe wound. You know what I'm saying? I'm just over here saying.
Okay. Wow.
So the next morning, Giles wakes up, and he had said too there at the end there in the bar, because he was so drunk, he's like, I am gonna fucking regret this in the morning. Oh, there's a part, I love that part. I skipped over it in the bar scene where he's like talking about how down he is and everything, and fucking Ethan's like, oh, you don't have to worry about that anymore, mate. When you were going to the bathroom, I slipped a capsule in your drink of poison. You'll be dead within the hour. And
yeah.
Giles is like, and then Ethan's like, just kidding. Ah! And
yeah.
It was just, it caught me off guard, but I thought it was funny. So anyway, Giles was waking up in his apartment. He's pretty, he's like, you hear him go, oh, I was right. I feel terrible, And he stumbles out of bed, and he's stumbling down the stairs, and he gets to the bottom of the steps, and there's a mirror there.
Pours himself a cup of ambition. Oh, sorry.
Whoa.
No, you said stumbles out of bed. It's the opening of 9 to 5. Dolly Parton, 9 to 5. Okay. Anyway.
You're going to have to turn in your man card now.
Tough crowd. Hey, Dolly Parton is a goddamn treasure, okay?
Dolly Partner?
Dolly Parton is a goddamn treasure.
Yeah, okay. So he yawns and stretches, and he looks in the mirror, and that's when the camera turns, and he's a full-fledged fucking pretty badass-looking demon.
Yeah.
And, like, dude, he went all out with, like, he must have went and been like, listen, if I'm going to be a demon, like, I want to go all out. I want to be in that makeup chair for 11 hours.
I was just going to say, like, when we were rewatching it, I thought to myself, I was like, he had to have been, if just the vampire prosthetics took, like, what have they said in the past, like an hour?
Yeah, and then as the seasons went on and Angel went on and they got better at it, they said they could do them in like 30 minutes.
So if that takes 30 minutes, which isn't that long, like he had to have been in that makeup and prosthetics trailer for 8 hours at least. 8 hours at least.
You would think, because he's full on. It's not just neck up. They've got him waist up, arms, hands, chest, back, shoulder. I mean, he's in a serious piece of fucking prosthetic here.
Yeah.
And, so he's like, fuck, and he's breaking everything because he's got demons.
I love that when he first sees himself in the mirror and he freaks out, like he goes to put his hand on the wall and he just pushes a hole right through the wall.
Through the wall.
He grabs the railing on the stairs and he just breaks it off.
Then he rushes over to the phone, I guess, to call Buffy or somebody, and he picks up the receiver and it just crushes in his hand. And,
so this brings us back to something we asked before. So several times we've seen Giles come out of the hallway by the kitchen, which we know leads to a bathroom. That's where Spike was. And it must also lead to a bedroom because we've seen him come out of there like dressed in a robe when in the very first episode of this season when Olivia was there. And we questioned then, well, what about the upstairs space where he had the bed, because that's where Angelus had staged Jenny. And now we see him waking up and coming downstairs. He was clearly he sleeps in that upper loft area. So what the fuck is that just a sex dungeon back down the hall?
Yes, I was going to say the room by the bathroom is where all the S&M gear is.
Okay, that's all I needed to know.
Yeah, when Olivia was in town, whenever they would be back there, and
that's all I needed to know. Like Giles has a red room. That's fine. That's all I needed to know.
Yep, 100%.
Like it's gotta be because like why would you like it's gotta be because you're not gonna have like your long distance fuck buddy from England come to the States and then fuck her like in the guest room, right? No, you're gonna take her. You're gonna take her to your main bedroom, like and fuck her, unless you have a fucking a red room,
right? And he likes to be handled. We know this,
right.
So he has to have a room that can contain his desires. So so yeah, then he goes, I guess he decides, okay, I got to get to somebody for some help. So he goes to put a shirt on and it just rips in half and he's like, oh, I liked that shirt. And so then he just grabs like a big blanket and throws it over himself and goes out, and as he opens the door to leave, he just rips the door completely off the hinges and just leaves it setting as he leaves. And it's a great scene. That whole scene is just great. It's almost like a Three Stooges scene.
I mean, and so's the next scene.
Oh yeah. Well, not the next scene, but in two scenes.
Well,
I know what you're talking about. Because the next scene is at breakfast, and Willow and Buffy are having a brekkie, and this is where you know something's funny, because she tells Buffy she was practicing magic alone.
Right? I as soon as she was like, oh, I was however she says it, but she definitely specifies she was alone. Like I said to the person I was watching with, I was like, why? Why would she feel the need to keep her new friend Tara a secret?
Because she knows that Tara and her are going to get downtown, my friend.
I mean, I've obviously, like, in hindsight, like that's the implication, is that she's not, like, she's clearly not sure what exactly is happening with her and Tara.
Yeah, because I think this is probably the first time she's had lesbian feelings, maybe. And she's like, am I, so maybe she just doesn't want to even bring Tara up to then have to like explain. Like, I don't know why she just didn't say, oh, I was practicing some magic with a friend I met at that Wicca group.
Well, and that's my thing too. Like she doesn't say, she specifies alone. She could have said, oh, I was practicing magic with a friend from the Wiccan group or yada yada, but she doesn't say shit about Tara.
Yeah. It's like she wants to keep Tara like her own little private secret or something.
Right.
It's weird. Willow can be weird though, so not the first time. And she mentions that there was the spell she was trying to do, some kind of magical force interfered with it and fucked it all up. And, you know, she's like, I don't know what's going on. It's like dark magics are out there. And Buffy's like, well, I'll talk to Walsh about it. And I'm like, fucking Walsh, what? Like, first,
Yeah.
when have you ever talked to Walsh about anything? Second of all, what makes you think Walsh, they didn't even know that the Slayer existed. You think she knows about magical, mystical fucking magics?
Right.
Why wouldn't you go to like the literal expert? And even Willow's like, well, you should go to Giles because, like, number one, he might actually know what the fuck you're talking about, but number two, he has been fucking being left out of the loop and feeling kind of shitty. And then that's when she realizes she had never told Giles about Riley and the initiative thing, and she's like, oh fuck yeah. She's like, I'll make it up to him. At which point we cut to Giles sneaking into Xander's basement. And Xander is sound fucking dude. Xander is in this type of sleep that I can only assume is television sleep, because I have never been so asleep that someone comes in like into the room I'm sleeping in and is talking and touching me, and I don't just be like, yo, what, huh? Like, he's like, oh, I can't even wake up. I'm in such a deep sleep, and I'm like, is he on like fucking, like, did he take like 5 Ambiens or something before he went and washed it down with a fucking vodka? Like, he's like in this almost medically induced fucking coma. But
that reminds me, Robin Williams used to do a joke in his stand-up, or it was in one of his stand-ups, where he talked about throwing a handful of Quaaludes into a blender with warm milk. He's like, I call it milk of amnesia.
milk of amnesia.
And when you were describing the sleep that Xander is in right now, that's what I was thinking about.
Yeah, it's like he's in a fucking medically induced coma. I don't know. Anyway, Giles is trying to wake him up, and he's like, listen, when you look at me, don't be frightened. Ethan Rayne has changed me into a demon, and I need your help. And at this point, Xander finally opens up his fucking eyes and looks at Giles, and Giles is talking, but Giles is speaking English to himself and to us, but to the rest of the world, he's speaking some kind of crazy fucking demon tongue, because what Xander's hearing is and
and the funniest part about it is that, so we're hearing Giles talk, and Giles is talking very, very calm and very, very quiet and very like reassuring, and then like it cuts to the Xander POV, and you're hearing like the demon talk, but it is still in like this calm, like quiet, reassuring tone. But it's like, but instead of like everything's okay, I'm Giles, it's like and so I was cracking up.
And so what does Xander do?
He freaks the fuck out.
Like, jumps out of bed, runs over, starts grabbing shit and throwing it. He's like, demon, demon, demon. And so Giles fucks off out of there.
But also, I meant to ask you this at the beginning of the scene. So, in my headcanon, Xander must live the closest to Giles. Because why else would he go there?
Right. Of all the... Well, come to think of it, he because I think he figured, well, I can sneak into Xander's basement undetected, as opposed to walking around on a college campus looking like this, trying to find Willow and or Buffy.
Okay, that makes sense. I hadn't taken into consideration the fact that he was probably like, well, Willow and Buffy are going to be in classes. Xander is an unemployed
Loser.
layabout, so I'm going to go to his.
Layabout that lives in his mom's basement, so I guess I'll go there. Of course, he didn't take into consideration Xander is a massive idiot and overreact, because it's like anyway, yeah, it's Xander doing Xander things. So yeah, Giles fucks off out of there. He's like, "Oh, son of a bitch, he's fucking Xander." So he leaves, and we cut to later that evening, and the Scooby Gang's all together, and they're heading to Giles to tell him about this demon attack that Xander didn't have. And they get there and they see that door ripped off the hinges from when Giles had left, and of course they go in.
You have to mention like after Giles leaves Xander's house and he's out in the neighborhood.
I don't read. Oh, when he goes, he's like he's like running through, and like all
Yes.
like parents start picking up the kids and they're like, call 911, and yeah.
he's stepping on toys and smashing them, and he's like running off, and he's like, oh, humans are the worst.
Yeah, humans are the worst. Yeah.
And again, I was like, we really are. We
really are. Anyway,
awful.
so the Scoobs, yada yada, they show up there. They're like, seeing all the destruction inside the apartment and the door and everything, they're like, well, fuck, this demon has obviously been here, and now it has Giles. And then we cut to one of my favorite parts of the episode. Fucking Giles walking through the cemetery, and he's just down in the dumps, and he walks by a mausoleum, and Spike happens to be standing there, and he's got a tape measure out, and he's measuring this mausoleum to this future home of his. And Spike's like, oh, what do we have here? Fiari demon, and or Fjarl demon.
Fjarl demon, yeah.
Fjarl demon, and at one point. And then Spike's like, Giles? And he's like, you can understand me? And he's like, of course I can understand you. I speak Fjarl. And he's like, he's explaining briefly what's happened. And he's like, and I need your help. And Spike's like, oh, like I'm evil. I'm just going to help you. And he's like,
right.
He's like, well, I can pay you. And Spike's like, oh, I like money. He's like, how much? And Giles is like, $100? And Spike's like, $100. You're going to have to do way, way better than that. And Giles is like, 200. And he's like, okay. And it's just funny. And so Spike's like, well, what now? Do you want me to just go tell the Slayer what's going on? And he's like, no, we'll handle it ourselves. And then Buffy won't even have to know, what's happened. And he's like, we just got to go find this fuckhead, and talking about Ethan. He's like, and we can handle this shit. And cut to Spike and Giles in Giles' shitty Citroen car, and Giles is like, if you can't find third gear, then don't go to third gear. And so yeah, they're driving around, and Giles feels like he's changing. He's like fighting the urge to get violent and crazy and everything. And Spike's like, yeah, that's a Fjarl demon. And
Spike's trying to encourage him to like just give into it.
Yeah.
he's like, no, that's the fun part.
Yeah, he's like, I can't do it, so you do it for me. And and then he's like, no, I'm a human being. I will not resort to that. And he's like, oh, stop the car. And Spike stops the car, and Giles jumps out. He sees Professor Walsh, so he goes run up to Walsh. He's like, wah! And fucking Walsh loses her shit and runs away. And then he runs and gets back in the car, and he's like, okay, then let's go. Oh, shit.
Oh.
So the gang's been going through all these books that Giles is trying to find the demon that Xander has described, and they finally find it. Giles or Xander's finally like, there it is. That's the one. That's the one. And Buffy's all like, well, how do I kill it? And they're like, well, the only thing that'll kill it is something made of silver. So as she's getting ready to leave with fucking Bupkis, she stops and picks up this letter opener off Giles' desk. And I'm like, what makes you think that's fucking silver, Buffy?
Just the way it looks.
Yeah, I'm like, that's not silver. That's called stainless steel. But Buffy thinks it's silver. So that's what she's going to take with her. And Bupkis is like, that's not even sharp. And Buffy's like, well, I'll have to put some muscle behind it. Like, instead of him being like, that's not silver. Like, who has a silver letter opener, Buffy? Stop and think for a minute.
To be fair, it is Giles. If anyone was going to, it would be Giles.
I guess. So then we cut to that bar that Ethan and Giles were at, and Spike is there, and he's getting information from the waitress. And he's like, you know, he gave me his number, but I threw it away. And he's like, oh, yeah. And she's like, yeah, it was for that. Once I found out it was for that shitty Sunnydale Motor Inn hotel outside town. And Spike is like, yeah. And
I like how the implication in what she says is that she was considering calling Ethan.
yeah, and then she
and like
was
and
that.
shacking up with him, and then she was like, not at that rundown shithole.
Yeah, not at that motel. Now, if it was the one in town, might
Right.
be tough. So then Buffy and Bupkis break into the magic shop, which is closed, of course. And Riley's like, you shouldn't have done that to the door. And he's like, well, I don't got time to fuck around. And Riley goes, I have a master key to every shop on Main Street.
This kind of irritated me too. I could tell when you went that it irritated you. It irritated me a little bit too.
And I'm like, really? Like, because later on they talk about how they have a tap into the 911 system.
Right.
And yada, yada. And I'm like,
And
really,
something else that irritated me in this episode is how, like, every time Riley says something like that or like the 911 thing, everyone else is like, oh my gosh, you can do that, you have that. And I was like, I said to the person I was watching with, I was like nobody else in the world has access to fucking police scanners. What?
Right. But I'm just like, oh, come on now. So, of course, Buffy finds a receipt made out to Ethan Rayne, convenient, with his address. So now they know where to go and where to find Ethan. And
Which is another thing. Like, and this happens all the time in TV and movies. And like it doesn't irritate me like extreme, but
like
I wanted to yeah, probably like it does you, but I wanted to bring it up. Like, in what world are people taking addresses down on receipts?
in what world does this criminal psychopath come into town to create some more trouble, needs to go to the magic shop to buy some shit for a spell, and then they're all like, okay, we need to write out your receipt, and what's your name, sir? And he's like, evil Ethan Rayne.
Right.
Capital E.
Right. For one, he's giving a fake name.
And then they're all like, and what's your address? And he's like, oh, I'm just right down there at the Motor Inn. Okay,
right.
Motor Inn. You know.
And this happens all the time in shows. Like, people go to places and they'll get a receipt. Okay, I understand that the receipt is going to have someone's name on it. I have never, in my entire time purchasing things at a store, gotten a receipt that has my address on it.
And that's handwritten with your name, your address, your DNA, your blood type.
My name, sure, 100%. My address.
What is your social security number, sir? You know?
Right.
It's like, I'm buying Eye of Newt, motherfucker. You don't need that information. So yeah. We cut back to Giles and Spike in the car, and they're now getting chased by a couple of commando fucking Humvees. And so they're they're driving like crazy. And at one point, Giles is like, just slow down and I'll jump out and they'll chase you and I can go on to fucking to find Ethan. And Spike's like, fuck that, they'll catch me and I'll be back in that shitty fucking place. And Giles is like, I'll pay you another $100. So yeah, he slows down and turns a corner, and Giles just jumps right out of the car and gets up and runs away. And the Humvees just keep chasing Spike and totally ignore the massive demon that just jumped out of the car and ran off into the moonlight.
I kind of get
after that Citron.
I kind of gave it leeway because he did roll into like a shade, like a darkened, like shaded part of the street. Man. So I kind of let that one roll.
Well, and then my next favorite part of the whole episode happens where he's rolled away and run off, and Spike is looking in the rear view, and he's like, "Yeah, just try and stop me, you fuckers!" And wham, head on crash right into a fucking cement wall.
So I don't usually talk about things like this, but I wanted to bring it up. There was a deleted scene right after that where Spike gets out of the car and he's like, I can kill demons, I can crash cars, things are looking up, and he runs off.
Oh man, they should have left that in. That would have been
hilarious. That's why I'm bringing it up, because I usually don't talk about deleted scenes, but I was like, that would have been in an episode that's already so like fucking laugh out loud funny. That would have been just even better.
Yep. Damn, they should have left that in. Anyway, all of a sudden we cut to Ethan in his motel room, who is hastily packing up his goods, and the balsa wood door explodes as massive demon Giles comes ripping in. And of course Ethan knows who it is and what's going on. He's like, oh fuck. He's like, wait, let me explain. I can't turn you back. And yeah, he's gone full demon. He's just fucking throwing Ethan all around the room like a rag doll, and then gets him by the fucking throat and yada yada. And then at which point Buffy and Bupkis arrive, and Bupkis goes and handles Ethan, who keeps I know like 3 different times Ethan tries to house fucking Bupkis.
I thought this too while I was watching. I was like, in what world does Ethan Rayne think he's gonna take on 6'2" fucking, like, you know, built, just like, come on, like, what?
No, you know Bupkis is actually 6'6".
Is he really?
Yeah, he is fucking tall.
Damn,
I was reading about that online. You can really tell it, like if he puts his hands on Buffy's arms and like kneels down to her to talk, that's when you can really tell, like, son of a bitch, that motherfucker's tall.
Like, I mean, obviously I could tell he was tall. That's why I went with over 6 feet, but man, yeah. 6'6". I wouldn't have. Wow.
Yeah. So
that's even worse.
That's even worse.
That's even worse. That this motherfucker would think.
Absolute insanity, son of a bitch.
This is absolute insanity that this motherfucker would think that he could take on this 6'6" linebacker fucking dude.
You know what it is? It's inconceivable.
It's inconceivable. Like, I'm 5'7". I'm 5'7". I'm in my 40s. I'm sure Ethan's probably around like 5 something. Okay.
Yeah, he's about average height.
Yeah, he's the same age as Giles, so he's also in his 40s. Mm-hmm. Dude, I am not taking on
Giles. has beaten him up many times.
Right.
You know,
There's no way. Like, if I even think that I'm gonna have to take on a 6'6" like linebacker looking dude who's easily 20 years younger than me, I'm just gonna sit on the floor and rock back and forth.
yeah, I'm just gonna mind my fucking P's and Q's and
Right.
but I counted them 3 different times he attempts to hit Riley and escape and he just gets beat up each time. Worse. And you know, Buffy is fighting Giles, Demon Giles. Of course, doesn't know it's Giles.
I want to mention real quick that when Buffy and Riley bust in, Ethan is very, very quick to be like oh, he doesn't even like try to be like, of course he doesn't, but to me it was hilarious. Like, he doesn't try to be like, that's Giles and things have gone terribly awry, yada yada. He's just like, right away he's like, you need to kill this demon, like it, you know, like he's egging Buffy on.
Yeah. At which point Buffy should have stopped him and like, wait, why should I kill this demon?
Right.
Anyway, so she gets the better of the demon and she lifts up the fucking thing and stabs him. But she looks in his eyes at the time and she's like, Giles? And come to find out, as I said, the fucking letter opener is not goddamn silver. It's just a fucking letter opener made of, Chinese stainless steel. So he doesn't kill him, doesn't even really hurt him. We cut to a scene where apparently they have forced Ethan to do the magics and turn Giles back into himself, who's now touching his face and stuff in the mirror and wearing horrible Ethan Rayne's clothing. And they're just talking about, blah, blah, blah. And Ethan says something. He's like, well, can we get done with this here? Cause I need to go. And he's like, cause you can't do anything to me. I'm a human. You can't kill me. At which point, I don't even know if I have problems with this too, but at which point some initiative guys come in and Riley says something like, by the
authority
power
of the US military.
Yeah, which I was like, no, that doesn't work on fucking civilians in a non-war type of situation. But anyway, he says, by the power of Grayskull, I hereby, and they take Ethan off, and he says, oh, they'll send him to a secret detention facility in Nevada. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, Area 51. And I'm sure he'll be rehabilitated there. And so then, yeah. A little bit later on, Buffy's apologizing to Giles for not telling him about Riley and the initiative, and he's just like, listen, I'm just worried about your safety and who you're trusting, and just keep your eyes open and keep your wits about you with this whole initiative situation. And then we cut to Walsh and Riley, who's basically having the same conversation, and Riley's like, but you're gonna like her. You're gonna see she can be counted on, and she's good. Walsh is like, yeah, I think you're right. And then he goes off, and she goes through a couple of different security doors, and when the second one closes, it says on it 314. Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
And that's the episode, ladies and germs.
That is the episode. Jeremy.
Yes, sir.
Would you like to guess what our body count was this episode?
I feel like it was 0.
It was 0. Good job, buddy. Our music this week: 12-Volt Sex with Over Divine, Other Star People with Then There's None, Scott Ellison, Down Down Baby, Jessica Shealy In Good Time, and Christoph Beck with Feral in the Morning, and of course, as always, our original score. Jeremy.
I prefer 20-volt sex. Just saying.
Okay. Well, I mean, everyone's got, their different things.
I want a good jolt,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's understandable. Jeremy.
Yes, sir.
Will you tell me and our lovely listeners and viewers how many Feasts of Delphrox do you give this episode?
I don't even know what you just said just now. But I'm going to give it a 4.
Okay.
When I was first done watching it, I thought that's probably a 5. But then I started thinking about 8 or 9 different really annoying little things in this episode for me that I was like, all right, it's not really a 5. Like 5 is pretty close to fucking perfection for me. So I'm going to knock it down. I'm going to knock it down to a 4, but it's definitely a solid episode. It's definitely funny as shit. And, they're really coming into their own with these comedy episodes now. Like they're able to throw comedy in anywhere they want now that they know who they are and what they're doing. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I love me some Ethan Rayne every time he's there. I forgot to say there's a point at the end where they've got him right before the initiative takes him. And he's like, I've really got to learn just to leave town when I've finished my evilness instead of staying around. Instead of staying around to gloat. That's what always gets me.
Yeah, he's like, it's always the stay and gloat that gets me.
Yeah. And one of the big reasons that I'm not going to point off of it, other than the little annoying things that all added up, the plot makes no sense when you stop and think about it. Like,
right.
What the fuck what was his goal? What was the goal of turning Giles into a demon? Like, what was the end game? It's not obvious, number 1, and he never explains it, number 2. And none of the Scoobs or Giles himself, no one ever, speculates on what the end goal was here. It was just like, I think I'll go to Sunnydale and really annoy Giles for 4 or 5 hours. I'm going to annoy the shit out of him. You know what I mean? It's just like, so I got to take a point off for that. But yep, it's a solid 4. It's definitely one I would recommend. I'm not sure that I would say it's a quote must watch, because overall I don't think it's super important to the overall deal, but I would definitely recommend it. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I love a good laughy episode. So James,
yes,
on a scale of 1 to 5, how many new men do you give this episode?
I'm gonna give it a 5.
Okay.
There were obviously, as addressed throughout our commentary, like there were things that I took issue with, but the majority of them aren't anything that I don't also take issue with in other TV shows. Like, so it's not anything that like throws a huge monkey wrench into it. I get where you're coming from with his motivation and his reasoning isn't clear. But I just kind of chalked it up to he was trying to get Giles killed. But
why not just slip poison into his drink like he joked about?
Because it's Ethan Rayne. Because it's Ethan Rayne, and that's not who he is. Honestly, if I was going to take a point away for anything, it would be the fact that this is the last fucking time we see Ethan Rayne.
I know. It sucks.
I was talking about this with the person I watched the episode with. I was like, he's the perfect character to bring back like once a season for an episode just like this.
Yeah, like a couple of times a season, maybe a two-parter, every season.
Right. And like just a standalone kind of funny, goofy episode, and he's the perfect character for that. And they never bring him back. So I mean, this episode it did like further the plot a little bit with the whole 314 revelation and stuff. But yeah, I think you could have brought him back every season for one or two episodes just like this, that could have just been goofy one-off, like funny episodes. So if I was going to take any points away, it would be for the fact that this is the last time we see him, and that's a fucking bummer. But yeah, overall, it's a 5 for me. I just feel like Jane Espenson was like firing on all cylinders with the script, particularly the dialogue, and the humor. So yeah, it's a 5. It's a 5 for me.
Fair enough. Now, you know why we never see Ethan again is because he's stuck in Area 51 and can't figure out how to get the fuck out of there.
Right. And to be fair, like, so, and we've already said we're not going to cover any of this stuff, but he does feature in like extended media stories.
Oh yeah.
Down the line, a couple of them, but yeah, we never see him again on the TV show. And as far as so I understand that like certain portions of extended media are considered canon, but for me personally, if I don't see it on screen, I don't give a fuck.
If it ain't on the TV, I don't give a goddamn.
Like, I'll watch. I'll pretty much watch any tie-in material that you put out there, but if you want me to like go pick up a comic book or
read some stuff, fuck off.
Like if I have to read a novel or like go buy a comic book or something, then you've kind of lost me.
Did you ever read the Highlander novels?
Oh yeah. Okay.
Okay. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yikes!
Zeist.
Yeah, Zeist. Yeah, I had all of them at one point. I'm actually in the process of trying to rebuild my physical book collection that I got rid of digitally, and I have bought a couple of the Highlander novels ebooks. So
yeah, they're good. They're good, I think.
Oh yeah, definitely. But anyway, yeah. That's all I have to say.
It's a solid 5. All right then, James. Yeah. Why don't you tell our lovely audience how to get with us, and we'll get the fuck out of here.
Well, if you want to be my lover, you got to get with my friends.
Right, because nothing lasts forever.
That's the way it ends.
But friendship never ends.
Oh, well, yeah.
I think that's how it goes.
Yeah.
I might very well be wrong.
No, I screwed it up. You didn't. I'm pretty sure.
I think we probably both did, if I'm being honest.
Maybe. It's hard to say. What was I? BuffyRevisited.com. Go to BuffyRevisited.com. You're going to find links to Facebook, YouTube, our merch store, everything. Hop over onto the Facebook. Leave us comments on our posts. We post about our episodes every week. So you can hop on there, leave a comment on the episode. Let us know your thoughts and opinions and feelings about the episode or the podcast itself. I do occasionally post other articles on the Facebook page if I find them interesting and I feel they warrant discussion. Same thing with the YouTube. You hop over to the YouTube and get this, Jeremy. Over on the YouTube, right, they're going to see the video version of this very podcast that they're listening to.
This very one.
This very one.
Holy. Okay. Mind blown.
Mind blown. Mind blown.
I don't even
And honestly,
understand how that wizardry works.
right. And honestly, like, listen, I know Jeremy, you lean more towards the audio aspect of the podcast. That's what you favor. But I feel like everyone should be watching us because.
Well, I mean, when you get a chance to take all this in,
come on,
you probably shouldn't, not. So
right. But also, in all seriousness, I do feel like watching us adds just a little something extra to just listening to us.
Yeah, no, it definitely does. I've just, I go back with podcasts back into the early 2000s, and I've always listened to them audio version. It's simpler for me to be able to throw my phone with a pair of, earbuds in, throw it in my pocket, and do my thing while I'm listening. You know what I mean? So
yeah, 100%. And you'll find a link to our merch store. Hop over there, buy some merch. It's good merch. What else? A link to our email, buffyrevisited@gmail.com. Feel free to email us. Again, thoughts, comments, opinions, worries, concerns, observations, questions and answers, recommendations.
Leave us your favorite recipe.
Right, recommendations, recipes, wants, needs, desires, anything.
Slash fanfic that involves James and I.
Yes, slash fanfic that involves Jeremy and I. 100%. Please send that. Please.
Probably in Giles's red room.
Right. 100% send that. Please. I'm begging you. I'm begging you.
Please.
Yeah. So hit us up. Any of those formats. We are more than happy to hear from you. And that's all I have to say.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining us this week. We're glad to be back in the saddle again.
In the saddle again. Oh, sorry.
Oh, yeah. Cool. Next week we will be visiting Angel, season 1, episode 12, Expecting. And James, what do you think they're expecting?
Werewolves.
Exactly. You're catching on. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you, and we'll see you next week. I've been one of your hosts. I'm Jeremy.
I'm your other host, James.
Ta-ta.